Okay, so we're watching Venus Theory. Will minimalism make you a better creator?
Howdy doody, buckaroonies. So for a while now, I've wanted to make a video on if it's possible to make professional quality music for free, like something I would be happy to
Come on, duh, man. Lots of people have done it.
submit to a client. And I figured with all the free DAWs and plugins and other tools out there these days, it's probably possible. For this video, I figured I would use my old laptop, a cheap audio interface, and a cheap
That's his old laptop. That looks like my new laptop.
MIDI controller. But after putting it all together,
Bro, I know plenty of people that have made absolute bangers with just like the most minimal of equipment. I know people that have made like next level shit with just like literally their computer, their laptop, computer, keyboard.
I got sort of caught up looking at how little was in front of me. And this sort of got me thinking, does minimalism make you more creative?
I think it forces you to work with what you have, which can be more creative because the limitations force you to like have to think outside the box a bit. But it's not that you can't be creative doing maximalism either.
I don't really know. So I figured today I would make this video to explore this question a bit and see if we can work towards an answer. Whether it's a smash hit indie game,
That's my whole home studio on God. Motherfuckers out here making bangers on iPads. Yeah, I only use my laptop, like the pencil in all my notes and stuff, so I don't use any MIDI. This is why cracking software bites you in the ass as well. I think it depends on your goal. Didn't Skrillex just use laptop keyboard and vintage samples?
game from a first-time developer made with love and endless.
I will say though, if you're doing vocals, so I think you need a bit more.
There's something to be said for the power of creative restrictions. Movies like Paranormal Activity or The
Someone should like Photoshop Sam Hyde onto that Blair Witch Project poster right there.
Blair Witch Project were massively successful, and I think part of why this happened was through constraint-induced creativity. The limitations that these creators faced, like a lack of a bigger budget or better
I feel like he has too much gear to talk about minimalism. I mean, I feel like anyone could talk about minimalism. I think maybe that's why he's exploring the topic, you know? So I think that's reasonable. Why is it? I feel like the aspect ratio in his videos are weird. It doesn't line up perfectly. Whatever. Good enough.
equipment, or maybe to a degree more experienced actors and writers, is what really gave them the opportunity to explore more out-of-the-box solutions. One of my favorite examples of this constraint-induced creativity recently was the movie Host. This was produced during the rise of the pandemic and made into
I'm using Elon Musk headgear to control the screen. Feels more instrumenty if that's a thing.
Most creators, when they're getting started, have the absolute bare minimum. A dream and a furious desire to make it happen.
And a laptop.
When I was getting started in music, all I really had was a crappy old laptop, a pirated copy of a DAW, a guitar.
You don't say that. At least he didn't say which DAW. You
And-
gotta do what I say, man. And a free trial of a DAW.
Despite this lack of any gear that I would consider professional,
Kyle beats Neuralink Sandbox. Dude, I haven't heard anything about Sandbox yet. I don't know what's up with that. I wonder if it's ever coming out. Ave McCree looking like a Borg motherfucker. Ave McCree as a cyborg? That would be some funny shit. Drum Monkey installed direct into your head from SEP via Neuralink.
by any stretch of the imagination, I do actually think this was the period in my life when I wrote the most music. This idea of less is more tends to ring true in a lot of fields of work. By only utilizing the things that are necessary to accomplish the task at hand, we find ourselves able to produce the work in a more effortless flow state.
You realize what it's capable of, or whatever you're using is capable of, when you are forced to have to use it and nothing else. You're forced to figure out like ways to do what you're trying to do.
This idea of less time or budget or resources or whatever might seem like a nightmare in some situations, but it's almost undeniable that
He's right. Minimalism will make me a better creator, so I'm going to chop off my hands. I'm going to make it harder for me. I'm also going to blind myself. I think that's the way I will truly make some really good music. I need to blind myself and chop off my hands. So be right back, guys. I'm going to go blind myself and chop off my hands. Yeah, I didn't really blind myself and chop off my hands. I just want to grab something to eat for lunch. And I thought that would be a good cliffhanger because people were going to be like, what's he going to do?
that acts as a conduit to actually force you to focus and get something done with whatever you have available. By eliminating options in favor of arbitrary creative constraints,
I will say I've challenged myself to a certain amount of plugin usage before. Yeah, that's why I just challenged myself. Only Infiltrator 2, okay? We're only using Infiltrator 2. And I can only use it 100 times on this plugin. Make sure you chop off your hands first. Look at my chat. They're so toxic. They're telling me to chop off my hands. It's about a DJ who went deaf. How could you be a DJ who's deaf, dude? That doesn't even make sense. You have like no way to check of whether or not the mix sounds good. I mean, you could compose music like while you're deaf because like you could write it down and you could look at it. You know what I mean? How could you like DJ? Like you're literally just mixing together random songs. So like how? I like to limit myself. I only use Sandbox and Drip to make my beats. You're gonna make some really good shit. Let me tell you that. Wait, he did that by doing too much coke? That makes no sense. Doing too much coke is hilarious. Yeah, I thought doing too much coke just kills you.
When we're in the creative process, we're more likely to weigh out the
Zwizzle?
options we do have in order to accomplish something. The limitations we face or impose often break us out of that comfort zone or habit and force us to be more innovative or consider new ideas and solutions. Green Eggs and Ham is probably one of the best examples of utilizing less to create more. Initially, there was a bet between William Spalding and Theodore Geisel, better known as Dr. Seuss, for Dr. Seuss to write a book with only 225 words from a list of only 348 words designed for first graders. After the release of that book, The Cat in the Hat, the bet went on to raise the stakes to make a book with only 50 words, and Dr. Seuss said, "Gotcha, bro," and released Green Eggs and Ham. That book went on to sell over 8 million copies.
I think part of the reason for this too is simpler things are easier for like the general public to consume, right? So him being limited to use only 50 words kind of forced him to make something that the general populace could consume. Like even kids could read it.
Psychology of Aesthetics, Creativity, and the Arts revealed
more accessible, exactly.
that restrictions are often one of the most useful ways to induce creativity. In one of the experiments, the participants were asked to write rhymes, but using their own set of rules. The result found that those who imposed more strict rules experienced more amplified creativity, while those who used less restrictive rules created less interesting or creative rhymes. One of the key tenets of minimalism is the idea of removing options in favor of intentional choice or a lack thereof. This is really why I wear the same shirt every day or
Hold on a second, what? Yeah, me too, man. Human gang.
cook a lot of the same meals or use a lot of the same techniques and gear.
That's funny though, because I do wear a lot of plain t-shirts too. And I just prefer it because I feel like I'm too old to be wearing like a bunch of stuff that's like Nike swag, like Nike swagged out.
In my own work, it's all about removing option paralysis. When I got a new
Venus
studio
theory exposed? Yeah, self-report, man. You're busted. This is gonna be on the next episode of WNN.
PC a while ago, I was absolutely dreading the idea of having to set up all of my programs and plugins and other tools on a brand new system. So I took out the good old notebook and forced myself to write down every tool and plugin and application that I could remember.
Next thing I know, I bought 4 notebooks. And I am still not done to this day. It's fun. What I've done is I just like have a folder with like all the plugins that I actually use in there. And actually, I also have ones I don't use like in there too. Like I have like meme plugins and stuff like that in there too.
Just put a check mark next to the things I knew I had been using recently or was something that was a part of my go-to set of tools.
The funny thing is like if you like review plugins and stuff like that, or if you're like testing out plugins, you end up using them in projects, and then sometimes you make something good that you want to actually finish, so you end up having to install it again anyways. So yeah, doing this is out the window. You don't shower? I mean, he didn't say that, but we could maybe infer that, you know what I'm saying? I feel that I got a new laptop recently and the transfer process for my DAW and plugins was too much, so I just smashed it. He uses Reaper. Yeah, he used to use Bitwig, but then the whole Bitwig controversy happened, and he was like, "Fish, I'm going to Reaper gang, human gang."
I try to apply this same logic to anything in my work, whether it's investing in a new piece of equipment, an upgrade to my studio space, or even accepting a project that a client offers. Taking a moment to ask the basic questions of what and why can save you a lot of grief. This also has a massive impact on my overall productivity.
I like how he's talking about minimalism while showing off all this like expensive, well, I don't know if it's expensive, but all this gear in the back here. Like it's kind of taken away from like the minimalism aspect of it. You know what I'm saying? I use Reaper too. It's pretty okay. I'm not a big fan. You know, it's not that I don't like Reaper. It's just kind of the times I did try it, I was kind of turned off by the way the like stock devices look in it. It just looks so cheap. Like I know it's all about the way things sound, but like it was a turn off when I first started using it. There are some good things in it though. The scripting in it is really cool.
By eliminating distractions and unnecessary options, my whole system became more streamlined, and I'm able to work more effectively and efficiently when it comes to...
It does look cheap, I agree. Let me just show this so people know in the chat here, for people who haven't used Reaper. Like all the stock devices in Reaper, blah. Like, blah, are you serious right now? Once you try Ableton, every DAW is a turn off. Maybe, yeah, maybe that's just, I don't know. I feel that way too, but I don't know. I used FL Studio for like maybe like a week or so. And then I switched over to Reason. This is like 10 years ago, by the way. And I used Reason for like maybe like 5+ years. Pretty much no Reason in and out. And then at one point I heard Flying Lotus uses Ableton and Reason. So I was like, I'm going to try throwing an Ableton here, because back then Reason couldn't use VSTs. So I was like, I need to use these. I've heard a lot about these dang old VSTs. I need to try me some of these VSTs. I was like, maybe that's why I make such music. I make such music. It must be because I don't have no dang old VSTs. So I got Ableton and I started like using some VSTs and stuff like that. I was still using Reason in the background for like my drums and stuff like that. Eventually though, I went full Ableton and I haven't really looked back since then. And every time I try to go back and use Reason, I just feel like the workflow of it's like so slow because you have to route everything. That was the appeal of Reason to me originally. But when you're constantly having to route stuff just for like basic sidechain and stuff like that, it grinds your gears. Free version of Pro Tools, basically. The stock plugins look like they have a Windows 7 stock design. I mean, they look more like Windows 95 to me. I kind of want to get a little bit better with all the DAWs. So like while we're talking about the minimalism thing, I think it also helps to like try new things. It's kind of a similar concept. By having to try new things, you may take a different path to get to somewhere new that you wouldn't have gone before because you're so used to doing the old thing. I realized this because like when I skate, I like to like skate new places. It'll give me like new trick ideas. Maybe the way a certain obstacle is shaped will make you want to try a different trick on it than what you would normally do, but just because of the way the obstacle is set up.
Time to put work in. This idea of decision fatigue is absolutely real, and interestingly, nearly every study about it has shown the same result. The quality of the decisions we make is directly related to the number of decisions that we've made that day. This tendency to be exposed to poor judgment after being forced into making too many decisions can also be one of the leading factors in creators experiencing that sense of procrastination or dread to put in the work, or even lead to outright burnout. By instituting boundaries and delegating or eliminating decisions, we can prioritize our own decision-making to the things that are actually the most urgent. And this is where tools like the Eisenhower matrix really come in handy. I think the best way to combat decision fatigue is actually from one of my favorite quotes from the book Essentialism. There's hell yes and no fucking way. This black and white decision-making process eliminates so many little annoying, tedious things throughout your day and throughout your life. If something isn't absolutely essential or interesting to you, then it's not worth bothering with. According to Dieter, good design is innovative, it makes a product useful, it's aesthetic, it makes a product understandable, it's unobtrusive, it's honest, it's long-lasting, it's thorough down to the fine details, it's environmentally
This is a really long sentence.
friendly, and it's as little design as possible. Now, while not all of these directly apply to things like filmmaking or painting or music production, does minimalism objectively make you a better creator? I don't really know, but
It felt like that's the answer to all of his videos. It's like let's explore this. And at the end, it's just like I have no answers for you. Nothing.
I think the ideas of minimalism can be a very useful set of tools in the old creative grab bag of juice if you're stuck on something or lacking motivation or can't really figure out an answer to a problem. Whether it's learning to create definition to a project, finding the solution to a creative problem, or creating something more meaningful, the principles of minimalism can be a valuable guiding light when you're stuck in the creative weeds. By removing the needs for frivolous decision-making, hunting through catalogs of options, or not having a clear end goal for your work.
Pretty cool video. I wish like his videos had a bit more of like a finalized conclusion to them, you know? I feel like it's like we make there's a lot of discussion about something, but there's no real progress made towards the answer. It's just whatever you take away from it, you know? If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to go check out Venus Theory. I only watched a part of this video, just the parts that I had something to say about. Make sure to subscribe for some of the most ADD-filled reaction videos on the internet. This is my second channel. Make sure to check out my main channel if you haven't. I'll see you guys in the next video.